Previously on Mac vs. Windows vs. Linux.
Pew, 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 pew. Boom.
Windows got 8. Mac OS scored 4.
Whee.
But Linux was the winner at a 9.
Alright guys, what is up? We are back.
We are
Windows versus Mac OS versus Linux.
Woo!
Last time we talked about hardware and driver support. Now we're going to be talking about software. And I think we're going to be diving into their app stores.
Yeah.
Sure, I mean, back in the day when Windows XP, there was no app store. App stores weren't prevalent. You would just Google or Yahoo or Bing. But now you can utilize app stores that are built right into the OS that should give you applications that are ready to run out of the box on your hardware. So that's what I'll talk about, and let's start off with the Mac App Store, which was just reiterated in macOS Mojave. So Trevor, if you want to pull up the App Store for us. All right, so as you see, we have the App Store open right here. And I just want to very briefly go over just the design and layout of the App Store.
Absolutely. We got Discovery, which I think is just going to show us our new apps. They've made this very much like the iOS App Store. Create, so I guess this is more like developer apps and things to make photo editing apps, things like that. What you're going to create with.
Of course.
Work. This is your productivity apps.
Calendars, emails, to-do lists,
whatever. Play your games, your amazing games like your what is this? Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Develop your developing tools. And then you got the categories, and then of course your updates, because you do all your app updates through here as well.
So now I want to do some tests within every single app store. We're going to start off with macOS, and the first task we're going to do is download or check out the first 3 games. See how good they are. Are they anything decent? Trevor, let's navigate over to the games category.
It's gonna play. Okay.
All right, so what are the top 3 games, just overall on the App Store?
You know what? I think I gotta go to the categories and then go to the game section. And then here we go. So top paid and there's top free.
Okay, let's just look at both of them then.
So top paid, we got The Sims 2 Super Collection. Rome Total World Gold Edition. Number 3, Command and Conquer. 2048, isn't that stupid like math game or something?
It's a relatively popular game, I mean not as popular as it once was, but still nonetheless is an addicting and relatively high up in their game, not in terms of graphic performance, but popularity at least. What else do we have?
Flappy Golf 2, I'm downloading it now. I got to.
A few moments later.
Woo, 28 flaps, I get it now. Okay, next. Try one more hole. That's what she said. E, roll back in. Yeah, woo!
Oh my gosh. We're not going to be diving into all of the games that we see here. It really isn't worth it for these tests at the moment, but it is interesting nonetheless to see what we have on the Mac App Store. But let's check out Windows.
Okay, so theirs is organized a little differently than the Mac App Store. They also have like movies and TV shows and books and other stuff here, so ignore that for now. But we got home, we got apps, games category. This one is not a terrible idea, and I don't know why we don't see this more often, is like your browser extensions. Like I like that they actually have their Edge extensions here. It's probably not a bad idea.
No, not at all. And it's really interesting to look at the Microsoft Store built into Windows 10 because it's very different than something like the Mac App Store, which only has apps. This, they're trying to offer their apps. They have apps separate from games, and then they also have their TV shows and whatnot, which might be something that Apple wants to look into. So now in the app test for Windows, we're going to be checking out the top 3 games in this store. So Trevor, let's take a look at it.
Let's go to the games category here, and let's see if we can find top games. Yeah, top paid games right here. So top paid games, we got number 1, Forza Horizon 4 Standard Edition.
Minecraft.
And then Forza Horizon 4.
That's interesting.
Ultimate Edition. I will say it looks like, without doing any further investigation, I see included with Game Pass. Does Microsoft have their own like paid subscription type thing built into their store?
I do not.
Because that would be interesting. Yeah, look at that. Free with Xbox Game Pass. Games on like Windows, they call them Xbox games. So look at that. You can get Xbox Game Pass and play this for free, which I guess is a huge benefit for the Microsoft store when it comes to games.
Especially if you use and own an Xbox.
Yeah, that's true. Because I think
very good.
So I don't know how that works exactly. I think number one, you'll play against people both on PC and the Xbox One. Plus,
Very nice.
you might get this game on the Xbox as well. I have no clue. That's all speculation at this point. But this isn't about consoles. It's about computers.
No, not at all.
So I don't care.
And do they have a top free area now?
Yeah, let's take a look. So, what, Roblox? I think it's like
Yeah.
a fake Minecraft type thing.
Looks like it. Maybe.
I don't know enough about this, but I have seen some stuff. I do like how their store has this video kind of built into the top two, kind of showing you a little bit of what it's doing.
Very nice, very nice.
Candy Crush Friends Saga.
That's funny. But Asphalt 9, decent.
Asphalt 9 Legends, this is a decent game. I remember playing this, like, I think iPads had this game or something like that. Not bad for a free game.
No,
I mean,
not bad at all. I mean, already I'm seeing a lot better games on Microsoft's.
I should say,
App
that
Store,
shouldn't
but-
really surprise anyone. But at the same time, just looking through their catalog of games, plus seeing that they have a subscription service too for gaming. Obviously, this is why if you're a gamer, you're going to be on Windows. And
Yes.
that's just built with built-in software and built-in games.
It's a lot more intriguing. Anyway, at this point, let's go jump to Linux.
So Eric had to briefly go for a couple minutes. So let's start looking at the App Store. So one quick thing I do want to say is I know we said we're using Kubuntu. As we were starting to try to film this part of the video, we realized we're having some issues in Kubuntu with it's kind of scaling, which I gave a Linux points on before, but I was having some issues, so we decided just to use regular Ubuntu here for now to at least show you some of the App Store. And it's probably a very fair example anyway, since the App Store on Ubuntu is probably the best one. So we'll start with our app test of the 3 top games. And I will say, I actually don't think there are any paid apps here. These are all free. So the first top ones here, looking by top rated, is going to be Colobot. It's an educational game that teaches programming through entertainment. Open MW Launcher, the engine replacement for the Elder Scrolls 3. Pingus, guild a horde of penguins through various obstacles. So one thing for sure, we're seeing definitely a different type of games here than we saw in the other app stores. They're not nearly as fun and entertaining. It's more community-based stuff.
So moving right along in our app tests, we're going to be looking at productivity apps. So the Mac App Store has a productivity category. If you want to navigate to that for us, Trevor.
Yep.
All right, so what do we have in the top paid and top free section?
So we got number 1 for top paid Magnet, Notability, and then Better Snap Tool, which I think is just to organize your windows and stuff a little easier.
It actually allows you to snap your Windows.
Like kind of like how Windows
does it,
okay.
yeah.
And then for top free, we have AdBlock Plus for Safari, 1Password 7, which is a password manager. That's actually a very popular tool. And then AdBlock for Safari, another one that doesn't really work real good.
And it is to be noted that if you look at the 4th one, it is Microsoft's OneNote, which is a decent program.
That's a free Office program. You don't need to have Office 365 to use that. So
good to know, good to know. Anyway, let's move on to the Windows area. So now jumping to the productivity apps on the Windows or Microsoft Store, I should say. What do we have here, Trevor?
Okay, so Drawboard PDF, where you can edit PDFs. Yeah, so there's a good example.
Simple.
Yeah, very simple. $10. One thing that is new here, though, which we should point out, is look, install trial. They do have trial applications, unlike like the Mac App Store. They don't have that.
So what else do we have in the top paid area?
Penbook, more drawing stuff,
right.
which I guess just falls into last time video that we were talking about Windows with touchscreens and pens.
Yeah, and especially with Microsoft Surface devices, you know, they put Windows 10 on a ton of touchscreen-enabled devices, so that's not very
and
surprising.
look, the third one goes right into that PDF fill and sign, which is just more of
nothing
the
crazy.
same stuff. So a lot of drawing and this seems
But what about the top free categories?
top free. Grammarly, I don't know if you use that, but I actually use that a lot.
That's a very nice app to have.
So and that's actually for Microsoft Edge, so that must be one of their extensions or whatever you call it. PDF Reader, Microsoft does not come with a good PDF reader. You can open up a PDF in like Edge or something like that, but the fact that that's up there as number 2 doesn't surprise me. And then number 3, your phone, which I thought this was for Microsoft phones. Oh wait, requires Android 7.0 or later.
Okay, so it's for Android. That's not bad. That's a decent app for sure.
I did not know this was a thing, so yeah, not bad.
Regardless, at this point, let's jump to Linux.
So productivity, we got Kyle, K-I-L-E.
Never heard of it.
Text
editor or something.
Editor.
But here, okay, so here's, I don't know if you mentioned this, but here's an issue overall with a lot of different app stores in Linux. They sometimes don't display a picture. I mean, I just see now it did display a picture.
Some of them do. We saw that in the games too.
Some do, some don't. They take stupidly amount of long time to load. The detail in these app stores is really just not there, unfortunately. Anyway, what else is available?
Text Studio, TEX Studio. I don't know.
Wow.
Document creation.
Great productivity app. That's all I gotta say.
Gummy. Simple LTAP text editor. See, this is what I was saying about average consumer. This is not the same type of app store as we saw in the Microsoft App Store or the Apple App Store. This is definitely different. And that's, again, maybe fine for me, you, maybe some of you watching, but not necessarily for your parents that are going to like, what's Gummy?
Well, with that said, though, we should actually mention the top apps on the featured area, though, because those are a little important. I mean,
they're not the top rated, but you're right. Wavebox, Nextcloud is relevant, but you need to have a Nextcloud server. So that, again, your mom's probably not doing that.
Slack is good to have, so that's nice that we have that. But honestly, out of all these that we're looking at, I only recognize Slack. And that's honestly not a good thing.
No, it's not.
Now moving on to our third and final app test, we're going to look at multimedia. So on the Mac App Store, it's kind of broken up into 2 categories. So we're going to check out the video category as well as music. Let's go to music first.
Okay.
And what do we have over here?
Looks like we got for top paid, not surprising, Logic Pro X, which is a fantastic piece of creative software for our music. DJ Pro 2, which is actually what my dad uses for doing a lot of his DJ work. My dad's a part-time DJ. And Main Stage 3, I've heard of it, actually never play around with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I do know it's on the more popular side.
Yeah.
Check out top 3.
Now this is not surprising either. GarageBand being number 1. It's a fantastic piece of software to get you started in making some music, and it's a free piece of software if you have a Mac. So.
And there's a lot you can do in GarageBand for like audio creation, editing, so on and so forth.
That makes sense. Shazam, which I guess I'm surprised it's as popular on the Mac App Store, but what?
Hey, I mean, if someone wants to know what song is playing, they just want to know.
I guess.
What are you going to do?
And then Virtual DJ Home. It's similar to DJ Pro 2, which is a free piece of software.
Yeah.
Virtual DJ is perfectly fine.
All right, so now let's quickly jump to the video area, just the complete multimedia in its entirety here. So in video, top paid, I see Final Cut Pro
Final Cut Pro. So we got Mirror for Samsung TV. That doesn't surprise me either. I think it's like a $5 app. I actually bought that. It's just a way you can actually like capture your screen to like a Samsung TV.
Oh, okay. So maybe for people that don't have an Apple TV, they can utilize this?
Yeah, you can kind of utilize it. Because I have a Samsung television, so I use it for that. And then for the third app in top paid, we got Motion, which is like Apple's like special effects software. It kind of goes along with Final Cut.
Yeah, essentially. You can make graphics, transitions, so on and so forth. So that's cool. Let's jump over to the top 3 area.
This one surprises me. MK Player. Never heard of it, but apparently it does like MKV files.
And I see a smart converter,
video converter, whatever. And then movie video editor, Movie Mater.
That is...
How is that there, but like iMovie isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't personally use or like iMovie, but that's not to say anything bad about that program. So that's
an
relatively interesting.
Just to show you, look at Movie Video Editor, Movie Mater. This looks like very crappy software. Beware, don't get this app. Not a good sign for Apple's App Store right now. No,
not good at all. Regardless, let's jump to Windows now. So now on Windows, let's take a look at multimedia apps. And this is going to be a little interesting. There are actually 3 categories that we're going to be looking at. Entertainment, photo and video, as well as music. And sorry if anyone's complaining that we're changing up the categories a little bit. It's just because no app store is the same. Everyone categorizes something a little bit different depending on the apps that they have on their store. So let's jump into the entertainment area first off.
So looking here, we got things like your Netflix. And Hulu. These are free apps, I should say. It does default looking at those first. But you got those of the world. I was going to pay it. I'm curious to what entertainment paid-wise is. Windows DVD player. Did not know that was a thing for $15. You ever hear, I don't know how to pronounce it, Zune or X-O-O-N? There's an Xbox One companion app that you remotely turn on your Xbox console at home when you're... Oh, so it allows you to like essentially turn on, and I'm assuming let you remotely, you kind of use your Xbox when you're not there?
That's very interesting. Very interesting.
G Player for Google Play Music Pro. Interesting.
But now let's jump to, I guess, the music area.
Yeah,
change it up a little
music bit. Here. So we'll go back to top paid. FL Studio Mobile. That's an interesting one. FL Studio, people call it Fruit Loops, I believe.
Yes, that's correct.
Big software for making music. Media Player S Pro. Interesting.
Cool.
Mobile Sheets. This one is actually something that is worth looking at. This is for musicians out there. So you can actually have all your sheet music and everything on your device. Great for Surface tablets. I know this is big in the iPad world too. But the fact that there's a good app, this is obviously one of those things that Microsoft probably promotes because it's like, this is a great use of like a Microsoft Surface, something like that.
Yeah,
for a musician.
no kidding. All right, and let's just jump to the top free area because I saw some good apps there as well.
There are some good iTunes. Which, that's interesting. I did not think iTunes would have been in the Microsoft App Store.
That's interesting.
But that is interesting.
But then also you got Spotify Music, Pandora.
See, what's interesting about this, which like Apple doesn't have, is that this is all the stuff you'd have on your phone or your tablet's app store or whatever. So you got your Pandora. And the thing is, a lot of these apps look just like that. It's really a mobile app that you can absolutely use on your computer, but you know, it's an interesting way for them to spin it.
Very nice. And then let's jump over to our final category in the multimedia category, which is going to be photo and video. We thought we included just because of how Microsoft Store categorizes everything.
Absolutely.
So we're in the top paid section right now.
HD Movie Maker Pro, Paint.net, player for DVDs. That's an interesting name. I'm assuming it's a DVD player. Yeah.
Wow. Very nice. Very nice. But let's quickly take a look at the top free area.
Adobe Photoshop Express.
Not bad.
That's a good one. Number 2, VLC.
Not bad.
And then DVD Player Plus.
I don't understand all these DVD players.
You can play a DVD on Windows without an application.
I don't know. Okay. I don't know. Well, time to jump to Linux. So now in Linux, in the multimedia category, I guess we're going to click on audio and video.
Yeah, it's the most relevant. Recognize some of the stuff here at least, but...
It may not the first three, but...
Little piggy. View spectrograms of your audio files. That's actually kind of cool. Audacious?
It looks like it's a ripoff of
Audacity.
Music. Not that we can see the screenshot, and this is
that's
exactly
a flaw.
what I said.
I don't know what's going on with that, but whatever. SM player, imagine some type of MP3 player.
Yeah. But what should be noted is that VLC is on the list.
And Audacity here. Another thing to mention real quick is Editor's Picks seems to have some of their most popular apps, and I would say that these are probably their most mainstream apps. However, look at the stars. There's no reviews on them, which also is a problem when you're looking at these categories and you rate them by their ratings. That's why we're not seeing anything. This is by top rated. These are the top rated, these more community-based pieces of software. Meanwhile, this stuff doesn't have ratings on it. Again, definitely shows a problem inherently with the App Store.
And this has to do with the amount of distros that Linux has. So, not everyone is on Ubuntu. And there's reasons for that, I get that. But that also means that not everyone utilizes the same App Store. So now there's not enough people leaving feedback on some of these app stores. Anyway, let's move right along. I'm gonna have Trevor take this over for a little bit. We're gonna be starting to talk about the installation file types.
So you may be saying, what makes file installation types a criteria to look at? And that's because of really one major thing, confusion. On Windows, if you want to install a piece of software, you download and install an exe, an executable file. On Mac OS, if you want to install something, it's normally a DMG. That's the file that you're going to install. On Linux, that gets a little more confusing because there are several different types of files you can download and install. And depending on the distro you're on, has to do with exactly what kind of installation file you need. This can get very confusing for the average consumer that just It needs to download a piece of software and doesn't understand. So we're back on Ubuntu here, and I wanted to go ahead and download Google Chrome, which is a web browser that is actually on all three platforms, Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. But here's a great example because it says please select your download package. It definitely doesn't say anything like this when you're downloading the Windows or Mac OS version. You need to understand ahead of time what type of executable file you need to download and install to your correct operating system. So what is kind of cool here is once the file is downloaded from Google, it will actually go to the App Store here, and it kind of gives you all the information here. We'll click install, you put in your password for Linux, and you're off to the races where it's going to go ahead and install that software. But if we didn't have the right file extension, it wouldn't do that. So moving away from installation file types, let's talk about customer support for a second. Because one very important thing about all pieces of software is knowing you have a support structure in place when it doesn't work, or sometimes when you just don't know what you're doing, which is perfectly okay too. Let's say you have Windows 10 and you have a problem and an error code pops up. You can call Microsoft and reach out to their support, and you will have someone try to help you. If you have an issue with Mac OS or one of Apple's pieces of software, they probably even have better support. You can give them a call or even just go into an Apple store. And even if you have a computer that's out of warranty, a lot of times they're more than willing to help you for free. And that's been my experience several times going there with computers out of warranty. But if you have a Linux operating system, that's where support can get a little weird, because who do you call? It's not Ghostbusters. However, there is no way I could talk about this without mentioning the Linux community. There is a very passionate, very highly educated community out there of Linux. I almost want to say developers. There may not be developers, they're definitely enthusiasts, but they might as well be developers because they help with people starting to just onboard and get through those issues. I can't tell you how many times I've had to Google things myself and see forums of people asking for help, and sometimes hundreds of people come to the rescue. However, it would also be not fair for me to say the other times I see someone asking a question because everything broke and no one answers. I don't feel like you can rely on a community for all support. And that is probably one of the biggest weaknesses that any Linux distro really has. Though Ubuntu is a company, and they may offer some sort of support for their operating system, it's definitely not to the scale of Windows 10 support or Mac OS support. So Ubuntu does have some sort of support here, but you do have to pay for it, and it's not exactly what I would call the cheapest thing in the world. This is more meant for more high-level type support, like in an IT environment, a higher enterprise network. Regardless, I think this points out an inherent problem as well with Linux that is going to discourage the average user. So overall, when it comes to software support, here's my general overall opinion. Mac OS does it pretty well. I'm overall very happy with the way their app store is laid out and the apps they have, though I do think some of their apps could be better, especially in the gaming area. I think some of their apps were very old, and look, I mean, you're not getting a Mac to game, but at the same time I feel like they could do a little bit better. In my own life, I've definitely used the Apple App Store more than the Microsoft App Store, and that has nothing to do with what operating system I use more. That's more to do with, like, if I just need a quick app, I've always just, the App Store is there, it's got what I need, that's it. I feel like the Microsoft Store is actually doing really well. Besides maybe some performance issues, I think overall the store is very solid, has a good amount of apps and definitely good games to it. I like how they're including the Xbox One stuff, as well as have that subscription-based service. Linux, it leaves a lot to be desired. I feel like it's still lacking with a lot of community-driven apps, and I think that's a really big issue too. You're definitely not having the same type of commercial applications and games as the other two platforms have. And I think the other big takeaway here, I just want to say as my opinion, is customer support. I think it's a really big issue for the average consumer. Look, me personally, I don't need someone to support my stuff. I want to make sure my hardware has support, so if something breaks that I can't fix just because it's soldered into a motherboard, I'm not going to mess with that. I want that fixed. But besides that, software I don't care about personally, so I don't really care about that. That doesn't bother me, but I can see how that could really affect the average consumer.
So now to break down my opinion, honestly, in terms of software support on Windows, absolutely fine. Mac OS, back in the day, struggled a little bit, but today, software support across the board is really good. Linux, on the other hand, with their poor app stores and the difficulty in installing applications at times and even finding proper applications, it's just something to be desired of Linux. So now comes the fun part, tallying everything up. What operating system is going to win the software support category? Well, let's dive right into it.
Yeah.
So again, fancy spreadsheet here, trying to show you how we are grading everything. So first off, we talked about the App Store interface. The App Store interface on the Microsoft Store, pretty good. I like the videos that they had. The categories were pretty good.
I really like the videos. And even in some apps, I wouldn't have thought they had videos. Like, they had them.
Yeah.
So I really like that.
Yeah. With macOS Mojave, they did just change up the macOS Store, or the App Store, sorry, and it's looking pretty good. Linux, on the other hand, big fat 0.
Yeah.
Not much consistency, poor design structure, categories a little bit of an uprise, whatever.
Yeah, the rating system is the biggest takeaway here for being a problem. And again, I don't want to hate too much on it because I know I hear the comments already. I really do.
Get them out of my head.
Like, I hear them. But just comparing apples to oranges, and apples to apples, and oranges to oranges, and as he says all the time, potato to potato.
And apples to Microsoft to Penguins.
Yeah, exactly. We saw them all today. We have to say that the other two were much better than Ubuntu at this point, which I think arguably has the best of the Linux app stores 100%. Right now. So they just need some work. Not even that much work, but they got to refine some of that stuff, and hopefully 100%. That will fix it.
Going down to gaming, Microsoft doing
There's
pretty
no way
well.
we can't give Microsoft a big fat point right here. I loved how they had their subscription service for gaming. So
yeah, that was awesome. Unfortunately, macOS,
no
0.
Way. Unless you want to play, what was it, Sims 2.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a couple games in the Mac App Store, but not enough to write home about.
Nope.
Productivity, really, for the end-all consumer? Windows, fine. macOS, fine. Linux.
Unless you need a lot of text editors.
Linux with its text editors, average consumer, no.
This isn't looking good for Linux. I hear the comments, but we're just being fair here. This is not even overly our opinion. This is just facts.
Yeah, 100%. Multimedia, Windows, pretty good.
Yeah.
Mac, pretty good. Linux.
Unless you need an MP3 player.
Which probably is already built into the operating system.
Yep.
That's a no. File installation types. This is not looking good for Linux at all. Windows, pretty good.
Yep, EXE, very simple.
Mac.
DMG, very simple.
Linux in their installation file types.
Confusing, to say the least.
To say it easily.
Yeah, so we can't give it anything, I'm sorry.
Customer support.
Look, I worked for Microsoft.
He's biased.
No, I'm not, because Windows sucks right now. That's my own personal opinion. But no, I'm not being even biased. I just know because I worked in Microsoft support. Their support structure is great, and I'm not saying that in a biased way. It's just honestly honest. Yeah. If I have a problem, I can call Microsoft, and they will do their best to help me.
So Microsoft receiving a 1. macOS, the Genius Bar, calling Apple, say what you want.
Every time I've called Apple, works fine. Go to the Apple Store. You can actually go to a store with them. Like, to me, that's extra
awesome.
support.
That's awesome. That's a 1. Linux, I can't go to the Penguin shop down the street, so that is a
Can we go to Antarctica
0.
and get some support? And unfortunately, Eric wasn't here, but I did explain to him off camera that they do have support, but it's like more enterprise version of support. You gotta spend thousands of dollars to get it.
You can either spend thousands of dollars paying for their support or paying thousands of dollars to go to Antarctica for the Penguin support.
I'd rather go to Antarctica.
Well, we're not going. Anyway, my opinion, Windows, pretty good. Mac, pretty good. Linux, I'm sorry. But Trevor,
I'm definitely going to give Windows a point here because overall their App Store to me was the best. They had the best amount of games, and I feel like overall apps, I loved how they had like Netflix and some of the other apps. Customer support's great. I feel like installation file types, my dad who uses nothing but Mac, he still gets confused about the whole DMG files at times on a Mac. It's not overly confusing, but executable files are simple. So that leads me to giving the Mac a 0. I'm going to give Linux a 1.
Ooh. You're changing things up. 1 point.
I'm trying to be a little devil's advocate right now because here's the thing. I don't know this for a fact. I'm sure someone will point it out in the comments. I'm sure a year ago, I'm sure the App Store on Ubuntu was atrocious.
Or non-existent.
Or non-existent. I think the fact that we're even at the level now where we do have some mainstream apps like Spotify, I think they're really trying, and I think this is something, again, that will be approved upon. So because they're going in the right direction, I'm going to give them a 1 for the benefit of the doubt.
Fantastic. And then we're just gonna fill out our null categories, which we didn't have. All right, so for our grand finale, we have Windows at a 10 out of 10. Go Windows.
Yeah.
Mac OS at an 8. And unfortunately, Linux at a 3.
Yeah.
So that is general software support on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. Stay tuned for more videos in this series. I don't know what's next, but subscribe and you'll find out.
This is getting crazy around here.
Oh yeah. Well, take care, guys.
See ya.
Bum, 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 ba, da, da.